So, Mr. Tim, we can also start having the presentation if you could share your screen. Perfect. So, very good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be your host for today's webinar, Does Fuel Theft Affect Your Profit? As we all know, fuel misuse is a significant problem for emerging economies. It affects the bottom line of a transportation business, and underestimating that problem will cost you an arm and a leg. I'm Yashi Mittal from Telematics Wire, and on behalf of Escort Monitoring Systems, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. Well, we have something very special for you. By the end of today's webinar, you will get access to a modern tool that provides the easiest and cheapest way to gain control over your assets and helps to increase your revenue by 30%. Yes, that's right. So moving ahead, our speakers today are the Business Development Manager for the APAC region, Mr. Tim Almev, with the Escort Monitoring Systems, and Mr. Sanjay Jain, CEO of Qualcomm Hyderabad, who is the professional systems integrator with huge experience in telecom and GPS tracking. Then we have Mr. Asnal Rakhmutaling, Technical Support Engineer, the team leader in Escort Monitoring Systems, and a special guest today, Dr. Ravindra Singh Minhas, Deputy Chief General Manager, Delhi Transport Corporation, and Shri Bal Malkeet Singh, Chairman Core Committee and former President, All India Motor Transport Congress. Well, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question or Q&A box, as you can see in your control panel. You may also send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. We will also record the webinar and will share the recording later with all of you. So thank you very much for your cooperation and attention. Let's begin the webinar now. Our first presenter today is an expert in fuel monitoring and current business development manager of Escort Monitoring Systems for APAC region. I'm pleased to announce Mr. Tim Almev, who will cover our first topic, that is challenges, responses, and available resources. Please welcome Mr. Tim Almev.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I hope the connection is good and you can hear me well enough. Fellow professionals and respected business owners. Today, we live in a new reality where you have to be very attentive to all the details. Our work consists of little things, but there are no little things in our work. Everything should be accounted for and taken care of. Optimization is the key, and that is why we are here, to optimize our workflow and stay competitive. So who we are and why we are here. We are the manufacturing plant located in Kazan, Russia. We run full-scale production line of IoT and complex telematics equipment, from idea to concept to research and development and mass production. We handle it all since 2004. And there are two main reasons why Escort is having this webinar today. Based on a thorough research, we know that shift towards the industry version 4.0 has a spiral tendency globally. So it all starts with need to know concept. At some particular moment, fleet owners are not satisfied with amount of data they have, and they demand more: vehicle position and state, fuel consumption, process automation. We see the same tendency in India, shift from the simple track and trace towards more comprehensive data. Fleet owners generally want to find out what they can optimize in order to get a bigger profit. And the second reason is that Escort Monitoring Systems is opening a regional office in India with a perspective of local production of telematics devices. By combining high-end electronic hardware with cutting-edge software algorithms, we create benchmark smashing devices. Our best-selling tool, fuel level sensor for automotive fleets, helps save up to 30% on fuel expenses. Now that has to be interesting. How do you optimize your transportation, construction, delivery, transit business by 30%. Before we get to digits and stats, let me ask you 3 questions, and it is very important that you answer them. So here are the questions, Yashi. Let's run the poll. I will sound them up. First, have you experienced fuel theft in your fleet? Do you monitor your fuel by the means of the fuel level sensor? And the third question, do your actual spendings exceed your annual fuel budget? I guess I'll give it some time for you guys to answer. This poll should be up on your screen now, and you are able to vote. Just a simple yes or no questions. Yashi, this poll, I guess this poll is going to be up for the duration of the webinar, so I don't have to. All right. Okay, cool. So I just kind of pull it down.
Yes, you can continue with your presentation.
Yes, perfect, perfect. Let's go. So the actual statistics and actual digits. Transportation business bottom line has been affected by many factors, and one very global and the factor that actually touched every single of us is COVID-19. And if we talk about automotive fleets, transportation sector has been one of the primary victims of COVID-19. From rickshaw pullers to airlines, all have been affected economically by the pandemic. India's overall energy demand fell by 11% in March 2020. Massive lockdowns globally, demand for passenger transport has been adversely hit. Not an easy reality to live in. However, even before COVID, many companies rely on manual logging, paper receipts, paper logbooks, and so on. Abundance of human factor is not good when it comes to counting, logging, and registering. Amazon, DHL, major companies has switched to automatic logging and e-receipts long time ago, and we should follow the suit to optimize our expenses as well. And not only in the field, but in the office as well. The lack of automated process and reliance on human labor, human factor, human counting can lead to mistakes. And double checking everything, and it's time loss, and time is money, especially in the business. We all know that. And the last, but our favorite part that affects automotive fleets is fuel theft and misuse. As far as we know, globally, it affects the bottom line of the business in a very major way. So it could be any type of the company, transportation, public utility, construction, mining, any company with a fleet of vehicles. Fuel theft is bad. Most people think of the fuel theft as something like this, basically a guy siphoning the fuel out of the fuel tank. And yes, it's widely spread, and you may think that the lock on the tank may save you. I do have some bad news, however. There are plenty more ways to steal fuel even before it gets into the tank, and fuel is expensive. There, I remind you. First way of theft is discrepancy. So the vehicle is being filled up on paper, but not in real life. In real life, it did not even move. We have a real life case. This case is from mining corporation, government mining corporation from Kazakhstan. Big vehicles, big company, big fuel tanks. They consume a lot of fuel. And here it is. We have some bars here. The vehicles were being filled up on paper, but in reality, they did not work that day. Before the installation of the precision fuel monitoring system, the discrepancy between paper fill-ups and actual fill-ups were 8 to 10%. So this fuel was stolen even before it got to the tanks. After the installation of the system, this fuel, this value dropped from zero, in the range from 0 to 2%, which could be accounted to an actual discrepancy, to the mistake. If we compare those two values in monetary figures, this will account for $37,805 US per month. The next step, fuel actually siphoned from the tank after it got inside. For 1 month for this big fleet, the value, the amount of liters siphoned from the tank amounted for 28,652 liters. If we convert it into the monetary figures, this will amount for 14,955 US. We have more information about this case on our websites with all the digits and all the stats. Please visit our website and read. Another way of fuel theft, underfill. Just imagine you give your driver an allowance to fill up fuel. However, out of 400, he brings you the receipt, all right. But out of 400 liters that were supposed to go in the tank, only 350 liters went inside of the tank, and 50 more liters are in the canisters. They were sold, they were used, whatever happens now, but the fleet owners are the ones who is paying for the party. So I can go on forever. There are so many ways to steal fuel: pilferage, fuel card fraud, return pipe theft, which is quite sophisticated, but still precision fuel monitoring can detect that type of theft. And the gas station fraud. And the gas station fraud is one of the most interesting one, because we all are used to the thought that gas station gives us the amount of liters, and that is a benchmark. That is, if the pump shows us 50 liters, that 50 liters went into the tank. Well, again, bad news. We have some statement from the Union Oil Industry Minister, Harmendra Pradhan, reported that Delhi ranks third among the states for gas station fraud. In 2018, 785 cases of fuel shortage at gas stations were registered. This lagged only behind Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, with 1,560 and 913 cases respectively. And this may be just the tip of the iceberg, because most cases are not reported. The major research made by Verizon Connect in United States, and this is a fresh out of the oven. This is for 2021. Transportation industry, when after installation of the GPS tracking, and well, GPS tracking it says here, but actually it's a bit more sophisticated. It requires a bit more complex, solution than just a GPS tracking, including fuel measurement. So 62% improved customer service, 54% improved compliance, 50% improved routing, 41% improved vehicle maintenance, 49% improved productivity. These are great digits, and I remind you, this is for 2021, so those are very fresh. So what do we do now, as we are aware of all these problems, and now as we know some things could be overlooked, some things could be miscounted, and just some things could be misplaced. We have some recommendations. Monitor your assets. Please do install GPS trackers to your vehicle's fleet. Equip your machinery with sensors. Use the latest Internet of Things, machine-to-machine technologies. Industry 4.0 is booming, and there are abundance of different types of the hardware on the market for every price, every quality. So many countries do manufacture such a type of devices. Don't count on human to do the counting. Automate that process as well. Fuel is not a spending. It's not like you go to the restaurant, you pay for the food, and then you forget about this. You know, it's a good experience. No, fuel is not a spending. It is an investment. Before you pay for fuel, you count every rupee and every dollar in your pocket and in your bank account. When you convert money into fuel, it's still an investment. It's still money. It needs counting. So prevent fuel and assets misuse. Implement precision fuel monitoring. This will help you save. This will lower your delivery rates, make you competitive among our other delivery companies. You will determine the underfills from the gas stations. You will detect an exact fuel consumption. You will find out if somebody is stealing from you. And then yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. These are our recommendations, and nothing could, show it better than one more real life case. I will hand over to Yashi, just to present the major Indian company.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tim, for such an insightful introduction. So now, as we are aware of the existence of such a huge problem, what do we do to fix it? Well, nothing shows it better than a real life situation that happened to an actual company. Simplex Infrastructures Limited is a diversified company established in 1924 and executing projects in several sectors like transport, energy and power, mining, buildings, marine, real estate, etc. Simplex is one of the construction leaders in India for nearly 90 years, executing projects with consistent quality assurance, cost control, and adherence to milestones in a safe environment as per the customer requirements. It promotes the culture of sharing rich and varied experiences with staff members as also with clients, and thereby benefits and helps the growth of the construction fraternity and society at large. The company has been closely associated with the country's infrastructure building with over 2,600 completed projects spanning almost all the gamut of the construction industry. You can imagine that such a major company has an impressive number of assets, including heavy transport, construction, and industrial machinery. The fuel budget was often exceeded, and the company needed a solution to monitor fuel flow. That solution was provided by Qualcomm, a systems integrator company with 10 years of experience in GPS tracking and fuel monitoring came to help. I would now like to invite Mr. Sanjay Jain to talk about the particulars of installation and monetary benefits for Simplex. Please welcome Mr. Sanjay Jain.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Rasi, for introducing me. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sanjay Jain. I am CEO of Qualcomm. I think everybody knows about me, basically in India. I am very fortunate that when we started our company in 2004, it was only a GPS systems. GPS initially was meaning for tracking, not monitoring. It gradually, over the period of time, people start using GPS as monitoring tool, not as a tracking tool. And then comes the different features like driver monitoring, speed limits, and one of the major point, fuel monitoring system. We were fortunate enough that Simplex Infrastructure Limited awarded us a project. They allowed us to prove our sensors, prove our systems, and we have successfully working with them for the last 5 years. We have installed around 600 sensors in their projects. And the company fuel, according to their own statistics, the fuel consumption, which was earlier 100 crores per annum, has gone down to around 74 crores. It's almost 26% less what they were spending before implementation of the system. These are the few projects what we have now the screens which are showing that we have done. We have installed the wire sensor TD150 and we have installed the TD-BLE, the Bluetooth sensors also. I will give you a small example of how a fuel monitoring system can help you save a lot of money. Everybody knows about excavators. Excavators generally they consume 20 liters of diesel per hour. It's around, if they are working for 8 hours, it is consuming around 160 liters. Or they work for 6 hours, it consumes around 120 liters per day. That means it's around 3,000 liters per month, and around you can say it's around 3,000 liter per month. So considering the price today, what the sense diesel prices today in the market, they are spending around 2,64,000 rupees on diesel consumption of just excavator. And if we were able to reduce that by just 2%, I'm not talking about a major price, just 2%, they are saving around 5,000 rupees per month. That means within the span of 4 months, their return of investment on the sensors is done. And after that, for next 5 years and 6 years, it's just a profit. That's the one scenario where you can say the spending is controlled. See, it is not about just underfilling that's happened or the fuel theft that's also happened. It's most probably what we have observed with Simplex thoroughly is like monitoring the data, the actual consumption of the fuel, which is not happening. If an excavator runs for 8 hours in a day or 6 hours in a day, there are time, no, for at least for half an hour, where actually the operators are working, but the excavator is not moving or not working because it is waiting for some kind of trucks or tippers to, to load the material. And that half hour means 10 liters a day. The 10 liters a day, if we are able to save, that means it is something around 3,000 liters a year, which cost around 3 lakhs rupees per year on one single machinery. That what was we able to do with the Simplex. They trusted us, they allow us to implement their system, and together with them, we have done a successful and a splendid job. Right now, I am proudly very proud to say that yes, we have helped them to reduce their fuel cost by 24%. And that's amazing. Thank you, Yasin.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. So this is just one of many companies across India and the globe to experience such a type of problem. This issue is so significant that the government of India has created a set of measures to boost the implementation of modern GPS tracking and IoT solutions. One of the measures is an AIS 140 order. Allow me to invite Dr. Ravindra Singh Minhas, Deputy Chief General Manager, Delhi Transport Corporation, to tell us more about it. It is a pleasure to have you here as a special guest speaker. Please welcome Dr. Minhas.
Thank you very much, Yashi, for introducing me. I am Dr. Minhas, and I have an experience of about 32 years to serve the Delhi people providing public transport bus system. And I have handled about 100 buses at a time in a depot. And regional manager, I have handled a fleet of 1,000 buses under me directly through depot managers. So I'll just, can I share screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, the first say the title of the this our webinar today is, does fuel theft affect your profit? It's a big question. According to me, the answer is yes. As the fuel starts from the company, that is Indian Oil or HP, the fuel theft starts from that place when the tanker or the lorry is filled from the company itself. So they generally fill less in connivance with the other people. And when the lorry goes to the petrol pump, again, when it is decanted in the this petrol pump tank, again, there is mix up and there is theft in the fuel. And lastly, when the, from the petrol pump, it is filled in the vehicle, again, there is mingling. And lastly, when the bus or any vehicle moves on the road and goes to some other place, if it's a public vehicle or truck or commercial vehicle, The driver have the tendency to just steal the fuel, or other people who see that the vehicle is parked here every day, so they may have, say, when the driver is sleeping, they may theft the fuel. So there are, these are the intentional fuel theft, and second is unintentional, or you can say the fuel theft wastage, where the driving habits counts a lot. I'll just give you one example. Suppose I am operating buses from Delhi to Chandigarh. It's about 260 kilometers, 250 to 60 kilometers. If I depute 5 drivers on that, you will find that one driver is consuming 50 liters of diesel, one is 60, one is 70, and one is to the tune of even 80. So the kilometer per liter which the best driver is providing is the 5 kilometer per liter, 5 mileage per kilometer. And the least one is providing between 2.5 to 3. So you can say that because of driving habits also, large wastage of fuel is there, and ultimately it adds to the losses of the company. So basically, what are the ways in which we can curb the theft? So we can have benchmarks for each route, or where even their trucks or buses, many buses, taxis, which are going on the long routes. You can just, on the basis of your experience, you can fix up benchmarks. Suppose at 5 to 6 kilometer per liter, you can fix it up, and the performance of drivers can be watched, and in case there is difference between the benchmarks, that can be analyzed and corrective action should be taken. Fuel monitoring devices can be put on that. Nowadays, earlier the manual devices used to be there. We used to put a lock on the fuel tank neck, or we used to put a jolly type of system in this thing, so that no siphoning can be done out of that. And nowadays we have digitalized this thing. Also, you can put this diesel eye on this thing. Whenever the tampering is there, you will get an alert, and you can see that you can find out that what is happening over there. Then the parking in defensive way. Suppose the vehicle is going to some remote area, and when the driver will drive the vehicle for the whole day, he have to sleep, and at that time the other person can also make misuse of your fuel. So the parking of vehicle should be such that the fuel tank should not be approachable to anyone. In this way, we can just reduce the pilferage from the fuel tanks by the third party. Then installation of IT equipment in the vehicle is there. You can put basically GPS device with the help of which you can just see the driving habits of the driver. How many times he have put the brake, how many times he's accelerating more, or how many times he's over speeding, or how many times he's not getting lower speed, how much time he's idling. All these things can be found out from them, and the corrective action can be taken. Then cameras are there. With the help of camera and recording of with the video footage, you can see what has been happening on the way. And panic buttons are also there. That is for the safety of vehicle as well as passengers and the driver. So that these 3 things should be there on the bus. Then the most important thing is training the drivers. See, if you have 10 drivers and you send them on the same route with with good vehicles, you'll find that there is difference between the mileage given by the drivers. That is because of the driving habits. There are many drivers who are in the say habit of just clutch riding, or just over speeding and putting the brakes and accelerating unnecessarily. So these things adds to this say excessive uses of the fuel. This thing, the drivers can be trained on avoid idling. See, whenever you have to for 5 minutes you have to stop somewhere, you should not idle the vehicle. Then drive within speed limits. The speed limits which are provided, if you drive within those speed limits, you will get the best mileage. If you overspeed, or if you speed less than that, but naturally you will get the mileage which is lower than the required. Then, as I already told you, that acceleration and brake, if you use accelerator and brake steadily, you'll get good mileage. If not, then lesser mileage. Then tire pressure plays a vital role. If the tire pressure is under than the recommended tire pressure, certainly it will have impact on the pressure on the engine, and ultimately the fuel consumption will be more. Then regular vehicle maintenance. That is, it is always said that prevention is better than cure. If you keep on doing preventive maintenance and dockings timely, certainly you will get better mileage than the vehicle which are not being say maintained timely, or it is being docked. If you have to do dockings at 24,000 of kilometers and you are doing it at 30,000 or 35,000, it will give lesser mileage certainly. Then you have to optimally use the AC of the vehicle, if and at a particular temperature. It should not be more than 23, 24 degree, because that will be good for the body this thing comfort. So it should be and it should be utilized when required. If it is not required, it should not be used. It will also give you about 20% savage on your fuel if it is being used properly. Then practice fuel efficient driving. I have already told the drivers which are good drivers, which are having good driving habits, they give better mileage, and the drivers which are rash, they certainly gives lesser mileages. Now this AIS 140, also known as AIS Automotive Industry Standard 140, it is the set of regulations published by the ARAI for the public transportation system to build an intelligent transport system in India. This is needed to increase the efficiency in transport sector. According to AIS 140, it is mandatory for all public transport and commercial vehicle to deploy vehicle tracking system, a camera surveillance and emergency buttons. Now all commercial vehicles, especially in Delhi, at the time of say fitness of the vehicle, you need all these things in that, otherwise your vehicle will not be passed for operation. And these are very useful items in the long run. What are the advantage of this thing, your AIS 130? These are, say, you can say smart fleet services. The device helps to obtain the information through multiple satellite systems, GNSS and IRNSS, and enables security data transfer to the national data center. So you have access to the data and all other things in this regard, which helps you in fuel monitoring. Then security and safety of the passenger. See, when you have this GPS system on and panic buttons are there, and your this video recording is there, it will certainly give security to the passenger as well as the vehicles. Then upgraded tracking features. You can track the driving habits of the driver and take corrective measures. Then quick response during emergency. See, these emergency buttons, in case of emergency, you can just immediately inform the ambulance services, you can immediately inform the police, so that immediate resistance can be given to the injured or damaged or whatsoever is happening on the road. Immediate access can be given to these things. Then, as we have already discussed, that with these we can monitor the fuel consumption also. So it reduces fuel expenses also. Monitoring of vehicle performance. You can take out as much as data regarding a particular vehicle or all about or about your fleet, and you can see the performance first. If even maintenance practices are to be involved, you can have take corrective action for maintenance practices also through these. Now, Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0, or the Industrial Internet of Things, is on the verge of radically changing the way in which the manufacturers operate. The rise of new digital industrial technology, known as Industry 4.0, is a transformation that makes possible to gather and analyze the data across machines, and thus enabling faster, both flexible and more efficient processes to produce higher quality goods and reduced cost. It focuses heavily on internet connectivity, automation, mechanic learning, and real-time data. this is not going ahead. Yashi, can you help me out?
Yashi?
Sure. What is the issue?
This I am not able to move the slide next. I'm not able to go to the next slide.
Maybe you can share the screen again because I believe everything is fine.
Okay, just a minute.
I actually had this thing when I was scrolling the slide and it did not go. I kind of pushed on the slide with the mouse and then I tried to push back and forth again.
Okay.
Yes, I got it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Might be some internet.
These are the 9 pillars of technological advancements. Will not go into the details of this. These are big data analytics, autonomous robots, simulation, horizontal and vertical system integration, the industrial Internet of Things, cyber security, the clouds, additive manufacturing, augmented reality. This is connected cyber physical system. This is transformation sensors, mechanic work pieces, and IT system will be connected along the value chain beyond single enterprise. These connected systems, also referred to as cyber physical systems, can interact with one another using standard internet-based protocols and analyze data to predict failure, configure themselves, and adapt to changes. This in turn will increase manufacturing productivity, shift economics, foster industrial growth, and modify the profile of workforce, ultimately changing the competitiveness of companies and regions. This is foundation of Industry 4.0. Many of the 9 advances in technology that form the foundation of Industry 4.0 are already used in manufacturing, but with Industry 4.0, they will transfer production. Isolated optimized cells will come together as a fully integrated, automated, and optimized production flow, leading to greater efficiencies and changing traditional production relationships amongst supplier, producers, and customers, as well as between the human and machines. So this is trends in India. Industry 4.0 can be integrated with Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, and Digital India to create more opportunities. Make in India scheme aims to make India a global manufacturing hub and create 100 million new jobs by 2022. Rising trends in enrollments of online courses like big data, machine learning, and cloud computing. Digital India budget has been doubled. Plans to set up centers of excellence for research, training, and skilling of robotics, artificial intelligence, digital manufacturing, big data analysis, and IoT. Startup India, launched in 2016, is generating large-scale employment and is building a vibrant ecosystem of nurturing entrepreneurship and innovation. Eligible startups are exempted from income tax levy on share premium received, 100% detection of profit and gains from income for 3 out of 7 consecutive assessment years. This is what in brief I have to say on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a thoughtful presentation. And now I would like to invite our next guest speaker for today, Shri Bal Malkeet Singh, Chairman Core Committee and former President, All India Motor Transport Congress, to deliver his talk. Please welcome Shri Bal Malkeet Singh. Hello, sir. I believe he's not online. So I'll just check with him. Maybe we can invite our next speaker and he can join later. So allow me to transfer the mic to the CEO of Qualcomm, Mr. Sanjay Jain, for his testimonial about the success of advanced monitoring systems in India and some financial insights into precision fuel monitoring. Mr. Sanjay was one of the pioneers in that field and is willing to share his experience with us. Please welcome Mr. Sanjay. Dr. Minhas, you can stop sharing your screen now because we are able to see it.
Okay, just a second.
Sure.
I'm getting problem in this.
You can see view options.
Just a minute.
You would be able to see the stop sharing option on your screen.
Uh,
Yes, I guess there are two attendees, those who have some questions. I think Ashish Rawat and Abhishek Rana. So you'll have
Yes,
to,
we
take care
can
of
ask
that.
them during the Q&A session.
I did it.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Great.
Mr. Sanjay? Yes. Please unmute yourself. Mr. Sanjay, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. This is a small presentation what we have made. What we are trying to show how the fuel prices has gone up and what fuel monitoring system and escorts are doing. No, Qualcomm and escort are doing together. This is just an introduction. What these slides are doing. What we are doing with this one. This is again the insight of the fuel prices in India. The diesel prices in June 2020 was 69.39 per liter. And in the March, first week of March 2021, almost 11 month, it was 81.51. Today is something around 88. So it's almost 18% jump from what earlier was 11 months. So that means the cost of operating your fleet has gone up by 18%. That's no, that's hole in your pocket because that's definitely will affect your margin. It doesn't affect anybody else. Neither your driver nor your somebody else. So what we have done is why this is happening. This is happening because of the high fuel price and low driver salary. See, we Indian have a tendency, like we don't want to pay drivers more as per their actual remuneration or something that we just wanted to exploit them. And just we want that then they driver they compensate themselves by removing diesel or stealing diesels and selling them in the open market. This is one of the main reason where we are suffering. Another like this is a small stats of our company. Like we founded in 2004, we have completed around 400 projects. We have worked with major construction company in India. You name any construction company from L&T to Simplex, Aparna, Mega Engineering, they are with us. They are fitted with escort free level sensors, and mind you, it's only sensors, not basic GPS tracking system. We have done around 6,000 FLS installation till now, and still, as we are talking, my team is installing around 48 sensors in Solapur in a mining company. So that's the stats. And this is the kind of experience Escort and Qualcomm have. Like we have fixed our sensors in almost every kind of machineries and vehicle present in a construction and mining site. You think of any vehicle, we had a solution. Any kind of vehicle you can say, I can provide you the 100% efficient solution on fuel monitoring system, whether it's a tripper, truck, JCB, excavator, road loader, soil compactor, from a genset to RMC vehicle, rig, wheel loader, we have done everything. The tank capacity ranging from 60 liters to 11,000 liters. We have installed in a hot mix plant that capacity is something around 30,000 liters. So we have installed that if we are able to give our customer a satisfactory result where they're able to save. See, I'm not talking about very much picture, but what I am saying, if you are able to save 1 or 2% of the total cost of your diesel, it's a big amount. Imagine, I've seen companies, a driver, a company where they are suffering to pay, where they had the EMI of their vehicle, but the driver, they are in a very pleasant situation. They are buying an LCD every year for themselves, just because people don't think that fuel monitoring is as important as a tracking system. We have visited the customers where they are not worried to hand over a 20 lakhs rupees vehicle to a driver, but they are thinking to spend 20,000 on a fuel monitoring system just to monitor the fuel. This is a tendency that we have to change basically. This is some of the picture what we have done. Here you can see it's a larger tank, a conventional cylindrical tank of India, but we have installed a wire fuel level sensor here. This is again a picture of our RMC truck where we have Bluetooth sensor along with the Bluetooth angle sensor where we are monitoring not only the diesel consumption for them, because these RMC vehicles have two engines which run on a single tank, where we are helping them to optimize and analyze which engine is running and which engine is consuming how much. And why Ascot and Qualcomm? Like we are thinking of innovation, you need collaboration. So we were searching for a partner and we honestly find Ascot. It was just a click of a moment, like when I was talking to Tim and we started with it. And I was really appreciate Ascot team for making a BLE sensor, because it had reduced my service. It has reduced my service cost by at least 50%. Earlier, when we used to have wire sensor, we used to have to run around before the vehicle, because driver used to remove the cable, they used to tamper the cable to do the fuel tap. Now with the BLE solutions, I don't think they have any other option. They don't know how to do it. And we, along with the Escort team and our Qualcomm engineers and our technical guys with all kind of support, we can say that we are coming at a position where BLE is the talk of the day. Everyone, every engineer, because you don't need to carry a laptop, you don't need to carry all those tools, just a mobile. You can fix the sensor, you can calibrate it to your mobile, you can even calibrate your GPS tracker with your mobile. So no need of carrying a no expensive laptop to the side, no need to provide expensive laptop to your engineer. Everyone is having the smartphone today and they can analyze, they can install their fuel sensor by easily and by their own. It saves a lot of time for us and for the customer also. These are the two sensors that we promote in India mostly. One is at Escort TD150, that's a wire sensor. Our wire sensor has one advantage, what is over our competitor. That is, it is having analog and digital both inbuilt in a same sensor. As a dealer, I don't need to keep a multiple stock, because some customer want analog solution, some customer want digital solution. I don't need to give a multiple stock. I have having only one wire sensor and I give them the option to choose. They can choose whatever they want. Second, the best part, which I personally I like most, is the BLE one. Even if today my customers, I don't want to pay me for much, I still prefer to go with BLE one, because it's easy to install, it's less headache to me. Just do the installation, calibrate it, and just forget it. You don't need to worry about any kind of tampering that is happening by the driver or somebody at the site. Even if the vehicle battery is removed, your sensor is working, because it is having an inbuilt battery. So it is you are not dependent on the vehicle battery at all. It is having a small memory black box which is recording the data if your GPS tracker is off. So you can retrieve that data and you can still find what is happening to your diesel at the time when battery was removed. That's a common practice for India. This is just some of the point like to highlight it. Like our sensor is 1000 mm standalone compared to the other sensors in the market, which is a 700 mm lens. So that means if you have a slightly bigger tank, you need to pay extra. With Escort and Qualcomm, you don't need to pay anything extra. The same sensor can run for a bigger tank also. We have a very unique point, that is unlimited number of calibration. Most of the sensor limits you to 20-point calibration. You cannot calibrate your sensor more than 20 points. It means like you have 200-liter tank, you can calibrate 10 liters to 20 times. If you have 300-liter tank, you have to calibrate 15 liters 20 times. But in our sensors, if it is 100-liter tank or 1000-liter tank, I can calibrate as many as point I want. It gives us the more accuracy and more flexibility. And Third point is universal output. Like I told, our wire sensors have a universal output. Yeah, you can use RS485, you can use RS232, you can use analog. That's all the three in a single sensor. You don't need to have multiple sensors for that. You can connect four sensors of in a single GPS tracker through RS485 or through RS232. That also give you an option. Wireless BLE, as my favorite, it's a quick installation, less cost, less headache. So that's my point. Like say no to the fuel theft, say yes to the fuel monitoring system, say no to the wire, and say yes to the wireless BLE fuel sensors. This is a small cartoon which is prepared by Mr. R.K. Lakshman, the Honorable Mr. R.K. Lakshman. I have modified a little bit, like truck owner was saying, the bank employee, remember you have given me a loan to buy a truck. Now I want a loan to buy a diesel. And bank employee, this I have modified. Be wise, buy fuel level sensors and control your fuel consumption. You don't need to buy a loan. You need to buy a fuel sensor. Thank you very much. That's a small presentation we have for everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay, for this interesting presentation. And as you all can see, Shri Bal Malkeet Singh, Chairman, Core Committee and former President, All India Motor Transport Congress is now online. So I would like to request him to deliver his talk. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And I feel that the detailed presentation about the today webinar subject, does theft affect your profit, fuel, management of the fuel, has been given by Mr. Tim, then Sanjay Jain, and very elaborately by Dr. Minhas. So I will be very brief because all the points which were in my mind had been covered by my other panelist. Now the first question is that, does theft affect your profit? Definitely, yes. And transport sector is the most sufferer from inefficient fuel consumption and the constant risk of the theft. It is time to use the modern solutions to overcome such problem, which is resulting to our profit, very well explained by Mr. Manhas and Mr. Sanjay Jain in their presentation. And fuel is the very important and operating cost, especially for the truckers. It is 65 to 70%, and in some cases 75% of our operating cost of our trip expenses. So any loss on this account is direct loss to the operator. And I can say single penny saved is penny earned. And today what we are doing, All India Motor Transport Congress is the 80-year-old association, apex body for the truckers and the transporters, representing 90 lakh truckers all across the country and 3,500 district taluka level association affiliated to it. What we are doing to prevent, since as you know, the technology is not been adopted by the 90 lakh operator all across the country. However, the new vehicle, now AIS 140, we have given the presentation, has been mandatory for the commercial vehicle to have the GPS with the fuel monitoring. And as explained by Mr. Manhas, that is a benchmark. We have our own calculation based on the fuel meter reading GPS, what average should the vehicle give, and on trip to trip basis we have a fixed diesel given to our drivers, and on that basis the industry is moving. We are not taking any snips from them, what is the average, what is not average, but we have calculated that for particular trip so much of diesel will be given and so much of toll expense will be given and so much of the cash will be given to them, because we don't want that the driver should come to us for every trip, then we have all this paper account and all that, and all the payments has been directly done by us online through our petro cards. Toll payments been done through the fastags, and other expenses are directly transferred to their account. So this way the industry is moving. But what about the as manipulation at the dispensing station, for which we don't have any control? If my tanker is filling 100 liter, how can we confirm that the 100 liters have been unloaded in my, it has been dispensed to my tankers? So these are the various problems still we are facing, and we hope that it was a very informative webinar, and a lot of my fellow panelists have given a detailed representation. And it is a time that the technology will save, as Mr. Sanjay Dayan has shown how they have saved the money by putting this technology in place. And at last, about the industry, I have given you detail that we are working on a benchmark trip to basis, and diesel is being calculated. So definitely, the more the fuel prices, it is the impact on global economic changes and more pollutions. And hope that if this technology is adopted, it will be definitely beneficial to all of us. Thank you. Over to Ashi, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insights. Government is a market creator, and AS 140 is definitely a guide for integrator and transport companies. So we have to follow the rules of that order. And once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so all of us know about many cases of successful use of FMS from transglobal corporations like Amazon, DHL, etc., and major national companies like Simplex. Now, how do we implement that experience into our business? What steps do we have to take to stay competitive in the VUCA world? Let's hear it from Mr. Arsenal Rahmataleen, who has expertise in fuel level sensors. Being part of Escort's tech support team, Arsenal knows very well what challenges and issues an integrator of telematics solutions may have to face. Able to communicate with customers in Russian, English, and Spanish, he also has experience working with Escort's customers both on the domestic and foreign markets. So I would like to invite Mr. Arsenal. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Yashi. Thank you for giving the word over to me. Let me share my screen, and you will be able to see the main points that I'm going to be covering today. First, I would like to thank my fellow panelists for already covering some of the points that I will be reiterating, but I think that's I will add a little bit more useful information for the participants, for the attendees as well. So in this crazy world, we have to be running all the time in order to get where we want, but we have to be smart about that. And this is actually what we do. We offer the solutions that allow you to be smarter on your own and run faster than your competitors, and also to improve the overall efficiency of your business, overall performance of your business. So these are my key points. I will be giving you a short survey of different fuel monitoring options that are available on the market right now, and I will emphasize why installing the capacitive type fuel level sensors is probably one of the best solutions, one of the most optimal solutions. Also, I will cover some common fears and misconceptions that are related to this topic, to the capacitive type fuel level sensors. And I will also point out why simply tracking your vehicles is not enough. I will cover also what other parameters or what other types of activities you can monitor with different sensors that we manufacture. And since it's a complex topic that we will not be able to cover in one webinar, I'm also going to give you some pointers on where to find the knowledge that you need to be successful in this business and where to learn. So on to the next slide. And here we see the main reasons why you should consider installing the capacitive type fuel level sensors. First of them being that you can reduce your fuel costs by 20-30%, from 20 to 30% on average. You will be able to monitor the fuel in any tank on any vehicle in your fleet directly from your office. And it will be easier for you to find out about any attempts at fuel theft, and also to keep track of how many fillings or fill ups there were and what was their volume. On a screenshot here, you can see how a typical monitoring platform report looks like. Here you can see the amount of fuel that was filled up. If there were any attempts to drain the fuel, you will also see the drains in the table, in the report. And you can actually read that data in the context of even more data, like your mileage, different breaks of speed limit, if you install some sensors that allow you to monitor the load on the axis of your vehicle, the axle load. You also can draw some parallels between that weight that was put onto the vehicle and the fuel consumption, for example. So let's take a look at different fuel monitoring solutions that you can actually purchase right now if you go into the market. Let's start with only GPS tracking. When you don't install any extra sensors, you just install the GPS tracker and your vehicle goes on. Well, this is great, of course. You can already start collecting lots of data, actually. But will it be sufficient is still a question. Because even if you use some calculations, I mean, you take the mileage of your vehicle and divide it by the average consumption of fuel stated by the manufacturer of the vehicle that you're using, it is very likely that your calculations will be off. So it's still better to install some kind of fuel monitoring sensor onto the tank and get some data on the fuel level inside the tank and any changes that happen to the fuel inside that tank. You could rely on, try and rely on CAN bus sensors that are pre-installed in the vehicle. But they could look like this one that you see on your left, or they could be floaters. They are actually present on the second image as well. That shows us how the ultrasonic fuel level sensor works. But the main problem that these types of sensors have is that they have dead zones that could reach up to 100 liters, and their precision rate is about 80–85%. So their margin of error is about 15–20%, which is huge. That's lots of fuel being not accounted for, and any changes that happen to that fuel, sure, as well. On to the next slide, and here we see two of the most efficient solutions. You can install flow meter, for example, but there are some disadvantages to that type of sensor because it is quite difficult to install. It is also you also have to take care of the maintenance every now and then. About 5–6 months, you need to clean that flow meter because usually there are some elements in the fuel that get stuck in that flow meter, some dirt, some particles, admixtures. So you need to do the regular maintenance of that type of sensor. Also, it cannot detect any fillings or fill-ups and any attempts to siphon the fuel from the tank. But they are excellent at helping you prevent any fuel thefts from the return pipe. And the solution that we actually manufacture and offer is represented by the capacitive type fuel level sensors. They are relatively easy to install and they practically don't require maintenance. At the same time, they have one of the best cost to quality and performance ratio, and they provide you with 99% precise data. That of course, that depends on how the sensor is installed in the tank, how it is calibrated, but 99% of precision is totally achievable. And I think that Mr. Sanjay has already shown that in one of the points that he mentioned during his presentation. And one more thing, I forgot to mention the ultrasonic sensors. The main problem with those being that they are more difficult to install. You also have to install them usually on the bottom of the tank. So they are easier to lose while the vehicle is moving across some rough terrain. And they are quite easy to fool. You could just throw a small metal object like a screw or a bolt inside the tank. It will affect the readings of that sensor greatly. Now, on to the next slide. So we have been in this business for quite some time. We started first manufacturing the typical wired capacitive type fuel level sensors, but then we noticed that there was a lot of room for improvement, and we went wireless. We started manufacturing the TD BOE sensors. Those are Bluetooth low energy sensors that can be connected to your GPS tracker via Bluetooth and report directly without any wires. Their pros being that their installation requires far less time. It's far easier when you don't have to take care of any cabling. Also, it excludes any risks of cable sabotage, which happens a lot because the drivers can just cut the wires or damage them in a very subtle way that you cannot spot with your eye. You need to do some extra diagnostics, for example. Also, the TD-BLE sensors are far easier and quicker to configure because you just need our mobile app, for example. Since they have been on the market for more than 2 years by now, we have already taken care of any possible issue that any new product could have. So by now they have become a very reliable solution. Here you can see the design of those sensors, how they are made, or what they consist of. We use only the best materials and components available on the market. The compound that the sensor is made of, the whole body of the sensor, the tubes are made of the aluminum, of course, and the head of the sensor and its anti-vandalic case or protective cap are made of polyamide. This is a very sturdy material that is used to manufacture the buttstocks of the Kalashnikov automatic rifles, a very reliable automatic rifle, might I add. So they are very sturdy, they are very resistant to any attempts to vandalize the sensor. The CPU and the Bluetooth chip of the sensor are also of the highest quality available on the market. The Bluetooth chips are manufactured by the Nordic company, which I think are the main manufacturer of any Bluetooth chips, actually. The sensor has a very reliable battery. Its capacity is 2,600 milliamperes, which gives you about up to 7 years of lifetime, because the power consumption of the sensor is very minute. It's about 40 microampere, I think. So if you divide the total capacity of the battery by that consumption, you get around 7 years of lifetime. All our sensors are very simple to use, very simple to configure. You download our app, which is available on both App Store and Google Play. You can connect to any BLE sensor directly via the app, and you also can connect our wired solutions to your mobile phone in case you're using our converter RS485 USB, and also an OTG adapter or OTG cable. You need to use that cable to connect the adapter to, the converter to your mobile phone, and then you connect the sensor. You don't even need any extra power supply to power up the wired sensors. And as I said, it's even easier with the BLE sensors. So now I would like to shed some light on some common fears that we face working in the tech support and also in sales. I'm sure that Tim is more accustomed to dealing with these fears and misconceptions when he's talking to his customers or prospects. Many people think that installing and using capacitive type fuel level sensors is too complex. And well, I have to say that you could experience some issues first with your first 2 or 3 sensors maybe, but we all learn, we all make mistakes first. We take some small steps first, but then we start running. So as you learn, you get better. It's only natural. You just have to be a little bit more patient at the beginning. And once you have invested a lot of effort into that, into learning how the sensors work, how they're configured and calibrated, it gets pretty straightforward. No issues there. Some people also think that it is simply not worth the hassle. Well, up to 30% fuel cost reduction and payback in 3-4 months say the opposite, because, and I'm going to show you that a little bit later on some real case that we had relatively not far ago here in Russia. So yeah, I mean, first it might seem like that, but if you're capable of saving up to 30% of what you spend on fuel for one truck, you can imagine how much money that would be for 10, 50, 100 or more trucks. And I'm going to give you an example in a few minutes. Also, there is a misconception that whole monitoring thing is too difficult to understand and grasp. Well, hundreds of people already do that. They managed. So I have only one question: why you should be one of them? Why you should be among them? If you invest a little bit of time and effort into learning how the system works, you'll be fine. It will get straightforward in maybe a month or 2. You don't need more time. You just need to be ready that there will be some new information that you need to take in and let it sit in your memory, and then you will be able to use it. No problem there. So I would like to demonstrate the use of the FLS that we manufacture of the capacitive type with 2 cases where the installation center that we have here, the integrator office, they install our sensors here in Kazan. They were able to spot these 2 cases where the drivers actually stole the fuel, and it was very easy to tell that they actually did that. So the first one is the pure blatant theft case, as I called it, because the driver even didn't try to cover his tracks. Here we can see the report on Bialon, and well, let me just zoom in on that line chart. In orange, you can see the speed line. So when there are some changes to speed, you know that the vehicle was moving. When there is no speed, so it was stopped. In blue, you have the fuel level line. As you can see, during one of the stops, the driver just approached the tank and siphoned up to, I believe, around 50 liters of fuel, just like that. Like nobody would spot that. Well, unfortunately for the guy, there was our sensor installed in the tank, so it spotted the change in the fuel level, reported that onto the tracker, and then the tracker onto the platform. And voila, you can see that drain, that theft, that siphoning right away if you open the graph. You can also visualize that fuel theft in a table where you can see the time and the place where that happened and how much fuel was actually stolen. So very easy to analyze the data, and there are several ways to visualize that, to present that data. Now, onto the next slide, and here we can see the sleeping driver case. So once again, we can see that the theft happened during one of the stops. And well, in that case, the driver had been provided with some trip allowance for a hotel room. He parked near the hotel, took the money, appropriated it actually, and didn't hire a room in that hotel. He just spent the night over in the in his vehicle's cabin, and he had to run the engine because otherwise he would have gotten cold. So in this case, the driver actually costs his employer the trip allowance money and some incurred fuel costs. But once again, our colleagues from the integrator center were able to spot that and report that to the customer, to the employer of the driver. So either your integrator could analyze the data that is collected by the sensor and by the GPS tracker, or you could hire someone to keep someone in-house to do the same. Yes, they would need some education first. They would need to learn the odds and ends of how fuel monitoring works, how specifically the monitoring platform works, how to analyze the reports, how to tell the true drains from those that happened during the trip, for example, when the fuel, well, it tends to slush a little bit in the tank, so that you could get some false reports, but they are very easy to see that they are actually false because they happen during the movement, and it's a very rare case when somebody steals the fuel while the vehicle is on the move. So yeah, you can analyze the table first, and in case you have some doubts, you just open this line chart. It's nice and easy to do that, and you can tell what actually was happening with the fuel in that tank. And all that while your vehicle is in kilometers and kilometers away from your office, which is pretty convenient, I think. Now, to give you an example, that's, well, it's actually also available, the article is also available on our website. We had a customer called Commerce Group. It's a agricultural holding company. They have a fleet of, I think, more than 150 vehicles, but at least 150 vehicles were fitted with the sensors and the GPS trackers. And those sensors were escorted the BUE. So they installed our sensors with the trackers, and let's see what happened next. So here you can see some pretty numbers that show us how much money was spent on the equipment and its installation, how much funds were saved in 6 months after the installation of that equipment, and what was the difference between the costs of the installation and the results that that installation actually brought about. As you can see, in 6 months, the money saved amounted to $75,000, which is almost the double what was spent on the installation. And in just the first 6 months of the use of those sensors, you can imagine what would happen in a year or 2 years, 3 years. Maybe occasionally you would need to replace a sensor or two, but it is still nothing compared to what you actually gain. So yeah, I think that this slide pretty much demonstrates the efficiency of the monitoring sensors, of the fuel monitoring sensors and the whole system. And I think that it's definitely worth the hassle. Aside from the fuel, I'd also like to touch upon other parameters that you could monitor using different sensors, including the BUE ones. You could monitor the operations and activities of some heavy machinery units like excavators, crane booms, cement mixers, concrete mixers, and whatnot. You could also monitor the state of hatches and doors using our DU-BUE sensors and TH-BUE sensors that have a Hall effect sensor that allows you to establish when the door was open, when it was closed. And also you could monitor different temperature and other environment parameters using our TH-BUE. For example, in your refrigerated trucks, you install that sensor and you get access to a wide range of different parameters. Those could be temperature, atmosphere pressure, and all of that. Here are some examples of those DUBLE and THBLE sensors being installed, well, mainly DUBLE on an excavator manipulator, on a valve even, to monitor the state of that valve, and on the lead of the dispenser box installed on a huge diesel truck that dispenses the fuel. So you could monitor every time when that lead was open or when it was closed. Here's an example of a report for an excavator that is visible on this image. It's actually used by a customer from Chile, but I was able to, since I was helping him to configure the report, I also got a peek at the data that he was collecting, and he did mind me sharing that with you. As you can see, you can track the exact time that that excavator spent working every day. You can see when the works began, when they ended, and how much they actually were in progress, how much time they were in progress. So this is my last slide. As I've mentioned, the monitoring of fuel, monitoring of different other activities and parameters takes some learning. Learning is the key. You could get the impression that the installations are difficult first, but practice makes perfect. And as you install your 10th, 20th, 50th sensor, you are already feeling like a fish in the water, like in your like you are in your element. And also, we understand that first, this whole world of telematics could be a little bit scary. That's why we have created our Escort Monitoring Academy, which currently has an introductory course into the installation and use of our sensors, configuration of the connection with different GPS trackers, and configuration of the reports on different monitoring platforms. Well, on Velo, we use that as an example. But I think that's it's my turn to give the word over to Yashi, because she has a surprise for you. Thank you for your time, and well, it's been a pleasure to present all that data to you. I hope that it has been useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arsenal. So we are approaching the end of our today's webinar, but don't go just yet. As Mr. Arsenal said, we have a very special prize draw and value for you. So before that, I have 4 simple questions. Do you know how to stay competitive in the VUCA world while increasing revenue and market share? How to increase the competitive advantage and profits in your company? How to manage your fleet effectively and ensure the safety of your staff? How to develop new types of services in the company thanks to IoT? Well, we have a very simple answer to all these questions, and that is precision fuel monitoring. Yes. So your wait is finally over and it's time for a lucky draw. Please listen to me very carefully, and to get on board this train, hurry to get your special prize. So after the webinar, 15 lucky winners will receive an email from the organizers that they will get a tracker and FLS for free. And along with this, guaranteed free installation of a complete solution for monitoring and control of fuel levels, discharges, and refuelings. Are you excited? Well, all you have to do is open the chat window as you can see in your control panel. I would like to repeat, open the chat window as you can see in your control panel, as you will have to send a text message directly to me, your host Yashi Mittal. Now you have to send your name, company name and email ID. Name, company name and email ID, that's all you have to send directly to me in the chat box. Please type your details in the chat window now and send it to me. You can type your details in the chat window. We are receiving responses.
Yes, we have received at 3-4 names.
Yes, we are receiving more responses. Okay, someone has asked me to repeat. I would like to repeat. You have to send a text message directly to me. You have to mention your name, company name, and email ID and send it to me in the chat box. You still have time. Please share your details.
Meanwhile, we have plenty of question and answers. Sorry, plenty of questions for Q&A sessions and plenty of
Yes.
questions in the chat. I'm excited. That's great. So just we will be waiting for you to let us know when we can get to answer these questions.
Sure. So meanwhile, we can start our Q&A round. And for that, I would like to ask a few questions, which are basically being asked by our attendees. And to begin with, our first question is from Mr. Amit Modi, who says, present market is AIS 140 and most of the AIS 140 device has RS232. Does this sensor support RS232?
Yeah, I would like to answer this question. Yes, we do have a sensor in our model line. The model is called TD600, and it does support RS232 interface. In addition to that, we make all our sensors universal, so it also has RS485. It also has analog, frequency, and impulse interfaces. In addition to that, we have TD600 CAN version. That has CAN J1939 interface, where you can connect to any type of the heavy machinery. Also, in addition to all that, TD600 model has built-in tilt sensor, and also to also provide the information on tilt of the type of the machinery. And last but not least, it has the memory for the calibration table. Up to 20 points of calibration table could be stored inside of the sensor head, in addition to your calibration table in the monitoring software.
Thank you. And our next question is from Michael. His question is, what is the frequency of issuing information from BLE fuel sensor?
I think I will be able to address that question. The sensor overall sends a data package every 1 second, but the fuel level measurement is updated every 10 seconds. Also, the temperature of the fuel as well is updated every 10 seconds. The working frequency on which the data is actually transmitted by the sensor is 2.4 gigahertz. But that's not the frequency of the data transmitting, but rather what channels are used to transmit the data.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question is from Frederick. Can we measure the fuel dispensed in the tank at the petrol station with the fuel monitoring system?
Mr. Sanjay, can you answer this question? Can they measure the fuel dispensed in the tank at the petrol station with the fuel monitoring system?
By filling at the fuel monitoring system, yes, you can. If you have a fuel monitoring system installed in your vehicle, so whatever fuel you are getting it filled by a petrol station, you can check it online through our system. So you can.
Great. And the next question is from Sumit Agarwal. And the question is, can it detect fuel theft from reverse engine fuel pipe?
I would like to answer that. If
Please go ahead.
Yes, we can do it. See, once a diesel is removed from the return line, the sensor and the software part together, they play an important role in that. So that adjustment has to be done along with the sensors, with the software, along with the sensors. If we do that adjustment right, yes, we can detect it. That can be done.
Okay. And the
If I
next
might
question,
add, if I
yeah,
might
please,
add,
please.
yes, please. Also, it is very recommended to install both the capacitive type fuel level sensor and the flow meter, because in this case, you will be able to tell that there is some return pipe thefts happening. It would be just easier. With the FLS, it's totally possible. With the flow meter installed, 100% efficiency.
Got it, got it. And moving ahead, our next question is from an anonymous attendee who is asking for IP rating.
I would like to answer this. We have just passed a certification recently that allowed us to increase our IP rating. This is IP69K. My bad. IP69S. So what does that mean? IP stands for ingress protection, obviously. 6 goes for, I believe, dust. Yes. Particles, and 9 goes for the water. So 9 is 6 for it's completely dust proof. It's the microchip board is sealed with a compound, so no dust or no particle, no physical particle can get inside. 9 stands for the water. That means prolonged positioning underwater. It could be submerged, it could be underwater for a long period of time, it could be sprayed with a high pressure washer. And S stands for stationary, meaning that when it was tested in a special lab, it was stationary. The sensor was not moving, which is logical because the vehicle would be standing when you are washing it. So this is the highest possible IP rating for such type of devices. And yes, we have been certified with this rating.
Perfect. So our next question is from Vicky. So Vicky says, fuel is taken out just before refill. Just a second. Yes. So he says fuel is taken out just before refill. So will it be captured under theft?
Well, yes, of course, because it will take some time to siphon the fuel from the tank. And since the sensor is updating its data, well, the wired one every 1 second, the wireless one every 10 seconds, you will be able to spot a slow drop in the fuel level. And then if the fuel gets refilled, then we'll be able to see the refill. So on the line chart, and I think both in the tables as well, it will be displayed.
That's right. So the next question is from Romit Bhattacharya, and his question is, this sensor can be connected over CAN, control area network gateway. So he's asking basically if the sensor can be connected over CAN. Anybody would like to answer this question? If this sensor can be connected over control area network gateway?
If we talk about CAN bus of the vehicle, we have a special version of the sensor that supports J1939 CAN bus interface. That is being used for, let's say, when you don't want to run any additional wiring in a heavy machinery, but it does have a CAN bus. So you can connect the sensor directly to the CAN bus, and then you can receive the data from the sensor both on the monitoring platform by the means of the GPS tracking device and on the stock measuring device, which is the fuel gauge. So if it's connected through the J1939 CAN bus interface.
Also, it is quite easy to integrate our wired fuel level sensors with any type of external controller. if that controller has the RS485 or RS232 port, because I am no programmer, but I know how the code there works. So I think that it's pretty easy for any skilled programmer to integrate our protocol that is used in our sensors. And we definitely help with that too in tech support here.
Great. And the next question is specifically for Mr. Sanjay. So Frederick asks, dear Mr. Sanjay, the tank is oblong. How can we measure as soon as the fuel is dispensed, since the flow of diesel is moving and not in stand and still position? He also adds the fuel is not static during filling the tank.
See, at that particular time, it's difficult to because the fuel is moving. So definitely the sensor will take some time when the level is reached, when you can detect the actual level present in the tank. So definitely it will take some time there. There we have to adjust the time according to that, to the machinery or where we are actually using the sensors. Basically, it's happened in the bigger tank where there's a return line and there is a outgoing line. So what happened for that particular time?
And the next question is from Sneha Process. Yes.
Hello.
Anything else? Anyone would like to add to this? Hello.
We lost you there for a second,
yes.
But we see this question from Sneha. Process control instruments, right? Could you share the challenges faced in implementation or measures to tackle the resistance to install the fuel monitoring system?
Yes, right.
Well, what challenges?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Mr. Sanjay knows firsthand what challenges when talking to the end users, correct? When talking to the transportation companies. So
basically, when you're talking to end users, you need to prove your solution. Like, see, when we are approaching a customer, generally we talk about 100 numbers or 200 numbers. My way of approaching a client is with only one sensor. Like, we request them to use our sensor, one sensor for a month, and then we can talk about the pricing, the implementation, the cost, everything. The customer who is spending around 20,000 rupees or around 16,000 rupees per vehicle definitely want a visit. In our industries, it's very important when you're talking about fuel monitoring system that what we promise we deliver. If we are able to provide that kind of service, yes, if you are able to convince that customer to just take one and use one, I'm very optimistic. Like, if anybody who can install one sensor of our own, he will definitely get back to us. There's just no question about it. We can prove it.
I would like to add to this, as a person who talks, every day I talk to system integrators around the globe. So basically, yeah, that's the question been asked plenty of time. There are a few stages. We, as the manufacturer provider, we provide warranty. So we give 5 years replacement warranty on the wired sensors, and we give 3 years warranty on the wireless. So that is the type of the assurance for the integrator that he can count on us to replace the equipment in case it gets faulty. Then as much as we can do from our side is provide education and 24/7 technical support. That we do as well. There are plenty of cases on our website. We collect these digits from around the globe. Basically, we talk to integrators. We ask them to provide us some monetary figures, how much their customers were able to save. So then we can operate these digits, basically show, yes, you know what, the same type of company in your region or in Africa or in Chile or in Europe, in Russia, doesn't matter where, use the same type of the system, and they benefited from this. And then obviously one of the things is, yes, it's a trial, it's a proof of concept. The actions speak the loudest. If the system works fine, for 1 or 2 vehicles for a prolonged period of time, and we're able to prove the benefits of it, so then it will work fine for 1,000 vehicles as well. So yeah, it takes time. It's not a fast process, you know, to prove it, but it's possible throughout the time. And then again, the transportation companies are not there for 1 or 2 or 5 years. We have companies who've been on the market for 20, 50, 70 years, 90 years, if we talk about this construction company. So in the long run, the companies will definitely benefit from this.
If I
Right,
might add,
perfect.
I also think that the way that you communicate with the customers that you already have is also pretty important, because you have to establish a good relationship with them. And well, essentially, you need the data to show your next customer, the data that proves that the system works. So it greatly depends on what is your relationship with the customer that you already have. You could ask them to help you with that data. You could offer them anonymity, of course, because if they don't want to disclose the name of their company, then it's okay. But still, when you show that there is a fleet that is running with the solutions that you use and that you installed on that fleet, and you tell the number of that, of how many vehicles that constitute that fleet, and how much money your customer has been able to save after installing these sensors, I think that those numbers usually speak for themselves. That's my
Right.
input.
Great. So moving ahead, the next question is from Michael, and that is, how do you protect the end of the tube from the dust?
I think I am to address that question as well. There are no filters that are installed on the end of the tubes, because the filters could be, well, they could be a pain, because you would need to replace them every now and then. And usually, if there is some dirt inside the tank and it gets inside the tubes, it doesn't take too much time there. I mean, it stays there for some time, but then usually it just flows out with the fuel naturally. So there is no point in worrying about that. In case you spot that there is any dirt inside the tank that is affecting the readings of your sensor, which could happen because it's a capacitive type, it reacts to some admixtures or contaminants being present in the fuel. It's still of the double benefit to you, because you don't want that dirt inside the tank to get into your engine, because it will increase the speed at which that engine is wearing out. So I think that the sensor there actually serves two purposes: to lower your costs, that your fuel costs, and your maintenance of the engine costs too.
Okay. And our next question is from Sankalp, who is asking, tampering is also a very common practice done by drivers. How easy or difficult is it to tamper this sensor?
Mr.
I
Sanjay,
think that Mr. Sanjay, yeah, is the right guy
best.
to address that question.
When we are talking to about a BLE sensors, I think there is no point in discussing it. Driver cannot tamper the sensor because it's a wireless one. There is no wire. The best thing they can do is to remove the sensor or remove the DL tank and throw it away. Apart from that, they can't do anything, because our sensors are wireless with a self-powered, no wiring, no way to disconnect it, or no way to stop it. The only thing what they do is, generally we face the issue is like the driver tampering the GPS tracking devices wire. They cannot tamper a sensor wire, but there is no wire at all. In that case, our sensor having a black box which is recording the data, which is not connecting or not communicating with the devices. It is recording that fuel level and data, which can be recovered from the mobile app. So there is no way our BLE sensors can be tampered at any point. Yes, wire sensors can be tampered. It can be easily tampered by anybody.
Right. Anything else anyone would like to add to this? Well, I believe
just a short one.
yes.
The casing of the sensor is made from the glass filled polyamide. And it's not plastic, it's composite. In some cases, it is stronger than aluminum. So also we have electric shock proof type of the circuit board. So no use of using the electric shocks, and no ways of using the hammer. Then again, if somebody cuts the wire, it will be visible. You will lose connection to the sensor. Yes, but we don't invent things just for the sake of it, for the sake of the invention. Every single of our devices is a response to an actual request from the market. So BLE devices, wireless devices, came to us because it was requested by many integrators. And I guess in some countries like African continent, for example, BLE basically a ticket for us to get on that market, because we've seen some pictures from Africa about how they try to kill the sensor. Yeah, and they go ways. It's not easy, it takes some determination to break the sensor. If you are determined to break something, you will, but then there are measures. It's not, there are some people who are responsible for the vehicle at this particular state and time. There are people who are responsible for the driver's behavior, like a garage manager or somebody. So yes, it's a complex set of measures, including this installation of the sensor and some preventive measures, like signing a paper that I am, as a driver, responsible for this vehicle for the duration of next 48 hours, whatever happens to it. So this is a common practice that we see in Europe, in United States, in Latin America, across the globe, basically.
Right. And our next question is from an anonymous attendee. Just a second. The question is it self-calibrating sensor? Is accuracy of sensor affects if change in dielectric constant of fuel? I would like to repeat the question. Is it self-calibrating sensor? Is accuracy of sensor affects if change in dielectric constant of fuel?
If we are talking about the calibration of the sensor after you cut its tubes or extend them, because it's totally possible to do that, the standard length is usually 1 meter or 1.5 meters. You could order the sensors that are as long as 3 meters, and then some extra parts of tubes that you could couple with the main tubes of the sensor to extend it, to install in huge tanks that are very high and have a very, well, height. Their height is 2-3 meters or more. You could also cut the tubes of the sensor as short as 15 centimeters. We don't recommend going below that. It's actually pointless, because in this case, the readings become unreliable at best. But 15 centimeters is fine. So that should answer the question also about how big should be the tank for it to be actually reasonable to install the capacitive type fuel level sensor in that tank. If it fits 15 centimeters plus 1.5 centimeters or 15 millimeters, then you're fine. You will be able to install the sensor. Now, the accuracy, just like with almost any capacitive type fuel level sensor, could be affected by the change in the dielectric constant of fuel. That is true. It's physics. You cannot just easily bend the laws of physics. So if there is some water inside the tank, it will affect the sensor's readings, but it will also signal you the need to clean the tank, because you don't want that water getting into the engine of your vehicle. Or any other, not only water, but also some admixtures, dirt, metal shavings that could get into the tank. You also want them removed as soon as possible from the tank. So the calibrating a sensor can be done in just one tap, in one button. You cut the tubes and you leave the option to calibrate the sensor without fuel on. You tap calibrate the sensor and boom, it's done. You can install it and you can use it. But it doesn't go for the tank calibration procedure, because this procedure is not done for the sensor. The sensor does not calculate liters or gallons. It just measures the level, then transmits its readings onto the platform via the GPS tracker. And the platform actually interprets the level readings into liters or gallons, or you could use even, I don't know, Coca-Cola bottles, for example, if you like. Any type of recipient, essentially, any type of volume or volume measurement unit. So yeah, the tank calibration is still a must, and it's not done for the sensor, it's more for the platform.
But yes, it is self-calibrating.
Also, I can see the next question from the same participant. Resolution of the sensor in terms of the smallest change that can be detected in quantity that is it is being measured. For example, up to 1 millimeter change in height can be detected. The level is not measured in millimeters. It's measured in the movement of the fuel, which is usually not 1 millimeter, even in the longest tanks that could be there, that they are not that high, but they are very long, for example, and the distribution of fuel is a little bit different in them. But still, I don't think that it's possible to siphon any significant amount of fuel that would just take 1 millimeter. The precision of the sensor is measured in percents from the total capacity of the tank. I mean, if you have a 100-liter tank, the margin of error will be 1% of those 100 liters, which is more or less 1 liter at a time. If we are talking about a tank that has the capacity of 500 liters, then it will be more or less 5 liters. 1,000 liters tank, well, more or less 10 liters at a time.
Right. So the next question is from Sankal. He's asking, how's the accuracy affected after using 1 or 2 years? Is there any change in the accuracy? Does these sensors need any cleaning or periodic service?
Technically, if you are using the fuel of reasonable quality, then you should not have any need for any maintenance for the sensor. But sometimes the fuel contains some contaminants, some admixtures, and those could get stuck on the tubes, and maybe in 1 or 2 years of using that low quality fuel, perhaps will compel you to go to the vehicle and clean the sensor. But it's a very rare occasion. Usually it happens when the company uses some very questionable diesel. But I think that Mr. Sanjay also, since he has direct experience with that type of occasion, I think he also can add a few words to that.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you have said today. We are facing this. We face the issue when the company, the construction company or the mining company, they try to use a different kind of fuel. They're trying to reduce the cost, or sometimes they temper the on-site engineers. They temper the fuel with water or a diesel or a dust. In some cases, yes, but otherwise, I am having a customer, like I told you, Simplex. It is with us for last 6 years, and we are using our sensors. So yes, occasionally, periodically, it is if we require, we do the cleaning of the sensors, but moreover, the accuracy doesn't affect. It remains the same. What we have done in the first year is still the same.
Great. And the next question is from Michael, who is asking, is it true that if closing the BLE sensor with lead cap, it will stop sending information to GPS?
Okay.
Well, some metals are very efficient in blocking the BLE signal, but the question is, how would you be able to keep that cap on the sensor? I mean, if you cover it with a cap and the vehicle moves, that cap is going to be, well, it will just fall off of the vehicle. And if the driver just covers the sensor for the time that he needs to siphon the fuel from the tank, right after the connection is established, you will see a significant drop in the fuel level in your monitoring platform, and it will be registered as a fuel theft. So I don't see how that could actually help the driver. Maybe once, but then they will get punished and that's it.
Okay, so we'll be taking last two questions for today. And the one is from Charanjit Kaur Gill, who says, what is the cost of this sensor and its warranty period?
Let me go on from this. I would like to add to the previous question. We had this case and about the somebody tried to use the Bluetooth jammers. They are not cheap. And they may not work because the channel is encrypted. But people try go ways, as including the lead caps and stuff. We do have we modified the sensor. We created a black box. This black box inside of the sensor will record up to 1 month of the fuel data inside of the sensor's memory, which you can later access with our Escort application, and then you can load it as a CSV file. So if you lose the connection to the sensor, you can later on, when you can approach the vehicle or genset or whatever, you can download this data using the phone app, and then you can upload this table into the software, and you can see if when it was offline, if something has happened. So this is one of the measures to help with the tampering of the sensor. But let me warranty and cost. We have a few options. Obviously, if you buy directly from the factory, it is considered an automotive part. So you have to have somebody locally who can provide replacement, who can provide service, who can provide installation and integration. So for that purposes, in India, we have our partner, Mr. Sanjay. And the warranty from the manufacturer, as in terms of the sensors, we have 5 years replacement warranty for the wired sensors and 3 years warranty for the wireless. As far as the cost goes, regardless of how much you will have to pay for the fuel monitoring systems, even if you have to pay triple our price to our competitors, it will still go, it will still go as a profit, because in the long run, you will save so much on fuel, and just compare it to the price of the diesel, and then you will get the answer. But Mr. Sanjay will have the pricing options for you guys locally in India, along with the full installation of the system and full service and support.
Perfect. And the last question is from Michael. Can the sensor be calibrated with empty and full, and what will be the accuracy?
Yeah, let me answer this. This is a quite quite basic procedure that you have to do with a sensor. Until this summer, you had to do empty and full using the fuel. Over 10 last years, we've collected big data from our sensors, and we've introduced something that Arslan mentioned before. It is called a dry calibration. So you do not have to have fuel to calibrate full and empty, but you still can. You still have this option. What you do when you download our app from iOS or from the App Store or from the Google Play, you just connect the sensor and you hit calibrate without fuel button, and it will be auto-calibrated after you cut it to the size. So it's self-calibrating sensor by the use of the phone app, but still you can do the so-called wet calibration, full and empty, and this is all described. You can find it on our YouTube channel, plenty of videos how to calibrate the sensor, how to install it, and so on.
Well, also, I have to add that this is, of course, goes only for the sensor calibration. In case you plan to do the tank calibration, which is basically something that you must do in order to achieve the precision that you need, then you will still need the fuel to fill the tank portion by portion in order to create the table that later on will be used by the platform to generate the reports and show the data in liters or gallons or whatever other volume measurement units.
Right, that's right. So it looks like we have covered all of our questions. And is there anything, panel members, you want to cover before a wrap up?
I think all the questions have been answered. All the contacts has been shared. Let's find out who is the lucky winner.
Sure. So we'll announce the winners after the webinar, and we'll send an email. So yes, I think it's done for today. So thank you very much everyone. We really appreciate you being here. And once you leave the webinar, you will receive a brief survey form, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback, as it is extremely valuable. Thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Please take care and have a great day.